Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Ladies and Gents Listen Up. And man, I'm excited about today's topic. But before we get started, how are you today, Mr. Carpenter?
I'm doing very well, Dr. Liz. And you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, and I'm excited about today's topic because our viewer from Detroit, Elizabeth, she asked, "What is the role of a man in a relationship?" And that's going to be a good topic, right?
It's gonna be a hard one.
It's going to be a hard one. All righty, all right. But before we get started, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we don't just say that. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. We just got our numbers in, and we hit 5,000 watch hours, but it has to be within a year. So we made it for the channels overall, like being up and running, but we still have to get it in 12-month cycle. That's kind of what the numbers game is all about. So we appreciate you watching, and thank you for helping us with our numbers. So anyhow, let's get on over to Grandma's cookie jar and see what Grandma's cookie jar has in store for us today. All right. Grandma's cookie jar today says, "Just wait. It gets better." Hmm. Just wait, it gets better. Well, all right then, and let's see what the back says. It says, it's a little bit, this is a couple of lines, okay? It says, "It's okay to be a glow stick. Sometimes we need to break before we shine." Hmm. Oh, okay, I get it. You know the old fashioned glow sticks, they crack them open. So sometimes we
Hmm.
have to break before we shine. Oh, wow. Great, 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 great. And also, we wanted to acknowledge a couple of the comments from our viewers before we actually dive into the subject. And this one is on, we had a couple of comments on hilarious rebound. With hilarious love rebound. We had some that stirred up some stuff. First, we want to say hello to Sharon. Thank you so much for your comment, and we last week acknowledged you as SMCF, but thank you for clarifying that you are Sharon, and thank you so much for watching and supporting. And number two, same. Actually, we had three comments for the same show. And so the second one says, "We date the same person in a different body." Great point. This was from Ramana Robertson Gregory. Thank you so much for watching and commenting. And then the last one was from, oh, it's crazy when you write your own handwriting down and you can't read your own handwriting because you're writing so fast. Tarana, I think it says Tarana. It's Tanyra. If I pronounce that wrong, please forgive me. And she just said this was a very interesting discussion. So I'm glad we're stirring it up. I believe it's Tanra. Please forgive me if I didn't pronounce that correctly. So on with today's topic. Today's topic is, what is the role of a man in a relationship? And that's a huge topic because there's so many different points of views, and we have several that we are bringing to you today, including our own personal views. And so just remember, it's our opinion. How about we toss the ball over into your court and let you kick it off, sir?
Okay, this Elizabeth, you put a hard demand on a brother first thing in the morning. Okay, but because this question, the role of a man in a relationship and also a marriage, is difficult because there's so many factors that make this possible in this dynamic. It's a culture-driven thing. It's first learning principle. It's first mention principle. So there's about four parts to this. Now, today I'm going to use an awful lot of notes because a lot of what I'm talking about today is from I did a research with my friends. I've got some friends, my inner circle, and I asked them the same question because I want to give you a well-rounded answer. I'm going to share what my friends told me first, but I'm going to give my meaning and my thoughts in this summary. In the summary is where I'm really going to answer it for you. But right now, I'm going to kick it off by talking about some of my friends. My first friend and my pastor, Dr. David Bradley. I talked to him first, and he said it's got to go to first mention. He says it's got to go back to the Bible. He said you got to go back to the Bible, and he gave me some scripture, and I'm not going to read the scripture, but I'm going to give you the registry where it is in the Bible. So if Elizabeth, you want to take time to read it, you can. And the first scripture was James chapter 4, first and second verse, and he read it out of the King James Version of the Blue Level Bible, and that's where he read it from. And the second scripture he gave was Ephesians 5, chapter 5, and verse 22 to 26. And once again, King James Version of the Blue Level Bible. And that one's about submitting yourself. And the first one was about desire, lust and desire. Okay. But now, Dr. David Bradley made it really easy for me. He said that the responsibility is, and he made it really easy. He said, first, priest, second, provider, and third, protector. And he broke it down. He said, priest, you're supposed to be the spiritual head and covering for your wife and your family. And he said, you must minister to your wife. And Dr. Liz, if you want to chime in anywhere, you can, because I got notes so I can stay on track. And that's the priest part. The second part, provider, he said you're supposed to be the financial head that shoulder the ups and downs in the home. When your home economy gets bad, the man is the one supposed to shelter that, not so much the wife. Now he said the wife participate, and we'll cover that a little further down. The third part, he said, protector. You're supposed to protect your family and your wife from all harm and danger. From all harm and danger. And he actually gave me two other parts to this, but I'll go through the two other parts after I tell you some of the stuff he told me about it. He said that first, he said, be careful when you say role, what the role of a man in a relationship. He said, because when you say role, the role of a man in a relationship, there's too much there. There's too much pulling on that. So he said, you want to talk about the character or attributes. He said, that's more of a better definition or a better answer. He said, because in this day and time, he said, this day and time, some women feel they can do everything a man can do, but he's saying that there are certain things that the Bible asks us to do. And he said, go ahead.
Yeah, because I wanted to chime in only on the part, because what you said about, well, protect, provide, and love is part of what I wanted to, kind of throw in there. And you talked about those things because, providing that protection. And the thought that came to mind is that, when a woman feels the things that you're talking about here, as far as being protected, as far as being provided for, and as far as being loved or what have you, in that, she then feels that she can open up, right? When she actually has that stability, she can open up. And then when she lowers her wall, because a lot of us do have walls, but when she lowers that wall because she's experiencing those things, not just because of what somebody is telling her, but actually what somebody is showing her and providing for her, then she opened up her world to a man. And that is what part of what I go back to, is say that she will help him to further his purpose. And I think that's kind of where like the origin began, even though today's time people see things, they do things a whole lot different. But then if you think about it, in today's time, we have high divorce rate too, right? It's not the same as in the days before. And that's why I think maybe Elizabeth was speaking to the roles. Like, people say, well, men are, they're built for the protection. They're built for, that's something that's an innate desire for them to protect and provide for their families. Mm-hmm. So those kind of what I wanted to contribute to that. Cause it's like, wow, that kind of hit home when you talk about those specific, well, you said not the roles, but a lot of people see them as roles, but that's just what I wanted to add to that part of the conversation.
Yeah, further in this conversation, we're going to talk about what you just said more in depth. I'm just getting the niceties out of the way, so when we get to rolling, we do have a foundation to pick from. But, absolutely. But once again, he said it's the character, traits, and maturity. He said a lot of times the men and women, it's maturity in relationship. And he gave me a couple pages of notes to give. And I know our time limits, I won't get that all to you. But he's saying that the man has a lot of responsibility. So like when the kids are in school, when you have trouble with the kids in the school, it's the man's responsibility to go to the school and see what's going on with the kids. Not so much the woman's responsibility. It's the man's responsibility to do that. And he said, then the spiritual head and covering, that he has to continue to minister to your wife and your family. That's because you have to make sure, everybody needs to get into heaven. And that's what one of the things that he was saying, that the man responsible for that. Now, the caveat he gave me with this is that this last two, he's 5 things. And here's the caveat he gave me for everything that he gave me on these whole 2 pages over here. And I'm not preacher enough to give you what he gave you, so I'm just giving you the summarized version.
Summary. Okay.
He said that every man must be respected. He wants respect from the wife and must have respect from the wife. That's the 4th part. And he said every wife must have love from the husband. So he's saying that the man wants respect and the wife wants love. And that was talking to what you said about what Miss Elizabeth said from Detroit. So it's 5 things with David. Let's get David part out of the way. The 5 things were, he said, priest, provider, protector, and that every man must have respect from the wife. He must be respected by the wife, and the wife must have love from the husband. And David gave me a lot, and I hope I did some kind of justice. But David's thing was that it's a lot going on now, that a wife can do a lot of things, and the wife has ability, but it's set up a certain way, and that's going back to the Bible. Okay.
And also, let me add something there too, because of the way that things have changed as far as the household structure, where now the women are out working, and so there's like a fine balance that we have to adjust to, because now that her role has taken her out of the household and she's out working and such, there has to be some type of a balance there as well. But go ahead. I just wanted to add that.
And we're gonna get into it. Well, I'm just trying to get all of this out of the way, so when we get balance,
that's a lot. That's a big outline for today. But go ahead.
We have the structure already in place. Next one is from a friend of mine named Patrick Fry. He's the owner of Hot Dog Central out in Fayetteville and Fort Bragg, and he's a businessman out there, been a businessman for years, and he's got a military background too. He gave me a short answer. He said the man's role in any relationship or marriage is to protect, provide, and be a good listener and fulfill his partner needs. He said that we all program in a relationship, and we've been told that a relationship is 50-50. He said it sounds nice in theory. However, in real world, it doesn't always work out that way. And he said if kids are involved, the man's role is to minister, guide, provide life skills so that the children and the kids will grow up to be great adults and citizens. And that's what his thing was. And I applaud him for giving me that information. So that's him. That's a businessman out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and Fayetteville. Now, next one came from a road dog of mine. This was a little different. And the one thing about all 3 of them, they all revert back to the Bible, and that's the law of first mention. Now, this friend of mine said, according to the Bible, and I'm just using his words, so please bear with me. He said, according to the Bible, the man was put to be the head of the household. A man's job is to take care of his spouse and companion. He said a man is supposed to supply everything that's supposed to supply the needs and maybe some of the wants. He said when a man and woman marry, they supposed to be equal. He said when you marry, you become one. So he said, how is it that the man is over the woman because they're supposed to be one? He gave me an example. Here's the example he said. He said, if you take 2 sticks side by side and you tie those 2 sticks together, and once they tie together, they become 1 stick. He said, so how in the world can one of those sticks be more powerful, more equal, or more than the other stick? So he said they supposed to have the same roles. He said now when he married, he never wanted his wife. He told his wife they didn't have to marry. They didn't have to go to work. He said because he felt as a man, he should provide. So he told his wives they didn't have to go to work. But he said if they wanted to go to work, they could go to work. He said, but if they do go to work, the money they make, they got to take care of their wants. He said, he'll take care of their needs, but they got to take care of the wants because they got their own money. He said, when they get the nails, the hair, and all those type of things, he said, those are not necessities. And he said, they should take care of that. I'm just telling you. And he said that, the last part of this. All right, he said that that the man shoulder the household for the wife and the kids, and he take care of her, and that's pretty much what he gave me. And he said that's the way he see it. Now
Wow.
we can open this thing up and we can talk about what me and you think about, Dr. Liz.
Wow, that was a lot. That was a lot but it also shows the different perspectives, and that's what we always want to do. We always want to show different perspectives and not just one narrow point, because you may pick up something from what somebody else says. Like I was watching the Different Future Wifey podcast with Latarius Whitfield, which I love to glean from over there because he has a variety of guests on there that bring their perspectives. And one of the gentlemen there, his name is Stefan Laboussiere. He's a relationship guru with books and everything, very successful podcast and everything. But he talked about from his perspective, he said it's a choice if his wife, or significant other wants to work. But he did not want, he said, because when a woman goes out to work and she comes back home, she's carrying the issues, especially if she don't like her job or it's just very stressful. She's coming home with those issues she's come home with those issues. So he always prepares himself to be financially able to make sure that he can take care of everything and that she can pursue what it is that she wants to do. Because he said in that, you become a more successful couple, because now she can provide the respect for him. She said that was very important, but she also she's not tired, when they want to be intimate or when they want to, spend time or do things. She's not irritable. She's not tired from work. She's not overburdened. And when she's flowing in everything that she's gifted and flowing with, then she can help him to be better at what he's doing as well. That was his whole perspective. And I was like, wow, that's kind of refreshing for today's time, But go ahead, your perspective.
Okay, my perspective is pretty much easy. That once you get together, once you marry, and you and your wife, you sit down and you and your husband talk about what's important and what you need to do and what it takes to make that union work. My thoughts are, if it takes two people to work, then do it. Because when you both come together with your own mindsets and your thoughts, and it's become a blended relationship. So what you bring, and I've always been to the point, I've always been that, hey, look, what does it take for us to get together? Because I'm like everybody else. I, first mentioned the role of a man is in the Bible. The first learning part is what you see from your mother and your father. That's first learning. Unless nowadays people see it in TV. You get to see, how marriages and families are taken out in TV, especially if you look at reality TV. Jesus, if you look at reality, that's maybe your first learning, and it makes it kind of difficult because you got so much of your environment that bombards you, and you get your learning from that. And especially if you're young and not mature, where do you get your learning from? And that's where, and once again, I applaud you, Dr. Liz, for having forums like this so people can listen. And a lot of times, forums like this, a lot of older people listen, not the younger people that really need it to listen. But this is how you do that. Now, when I do your podcast or do things, I try to get all points of views. And I try to go to a good place where I get a lot of my information from is from the CDC. That's where I get a lot of stuff, because CDC do a lot of funded studies on relationship building and community events, as well as the other things CDC do with drugs and disease and stuff like that. But they do an awful lot on relationships. And what's going on right now, one of the things, the roles of, and I'm going to talk about some of that kind of stuff now. The roles now of the man in a relationship varies based on culture, based on backgrounds, because there's so much. And I've got let me see. It's personal values. What are your values? What do you bring to the table? What are you looking for in a relationship? And when I look at it that way, you get to decide. You get to decide what that's going to be. A lot of ladies can go out and work. A lot of ladies want to work, and some ladies still old fashioned and want to be in the home. When you marry, when you guys are in your courtship, and like you said, Dr. Liz, ask the questions. These are that runway between dating and marriage, or that runway between dating and living together or coming as a union. That runway is used to get this online. So by the time you guys commit to being a partnership, or you've already worked out the details, so you can live the life that you and him have put together. And that's my mindset.
Yeah.
When we Go ahead, Dr. Liz, I'm sorry.
No. I was just agreeing with that, and that about the time that you take during the courtship period. But I think that's the part that gets lost, because people don't have that true open communication, and sometimes it's for fear of loss, or sometimes it's well, I can change their mind after we get married, and sometimes it's this big thing about this big old fairy tale marriage, or wedding, the fairy tale wedding, but not really working out the details of what's going to happen after the wedding. Yeah, you spend all this money on this big old wedding, and I'm not knocking or saying anything's wrong with it, but the time in between that courtship, and a lot of people don't even understand what that courtship is about. Or even say the courtship, like that's old fashioned. 3 times we date, we go to bed, and that's how we work it out. And it's like, no, because when you do that, you cloud your judgment, right? So you're now on this in this euphoric sort of kind of way of being, and then when you may go ahead and get married quickly, and then you really don't know the person, or you've met the representative or that masquerade, and then when you actually get to the actually nuts and bolts of the marriage, now you want to talk about, well, I don't want children. Well, I do. Well, I never wanted children. I expressed it, but I thought you were going to change your mind and stuff like that. So that's why that the time of courtship, that's what we called it, and that's it. That's what it's for. And oftentimes it used to be maybe a year or better. Somebody in every season, right? Somebody. How do they? There's things that you can look at when you're talking about looking at how a person and their character and their integrity is. How do they treat the waitress? Are they a road rager? All of these different things are giving you signs of who this person really is, because the person can really hide who they really are, and how they really think and operate. They can hide that for a period, but eventually the true them, they're going to show up. So it's just about us having that keen eye and saying, wait, what is it that I want? And being able to express it, because like what you just said about the different cultures and how somebody was raised, and also sometimes it's failed expectations. You have these expectations, and the person don't even know these are your expectations, and so then when they fail to meet those expectations, now there's a big problem of blow up or divorce.
Yes, yes. Now, and I'm glad you mentioned about weddings. And you said, before I say weddings, you said about how they treat the waitress, but it's better still how they treat their own mother and their own sisters. So that makes you wonder. But when you said a wedding, a few of my in my inner circle, I've got a couple people that are wedding planners, and one is just event planners. And they show me these pictures of these beautiful weddings that cost 10, 20, $30,000 for a wedding. And like you said, a wedding, a expensive, great wedding, a marriage does not make. You spent all this money and did all that, and you, like you said, in that runway between courting and marriage, you don't know the person, but you had a beautiful, expensive wedding, got the pictures to show for it. 3 years later, you divorced because you didn't do the prior work.
Exactly.
You didn't do the prior work.
Exactly. One of the couples that was showcased on the show, they only stayed together for 9 months, but they only dated. They dated for maybe 6 to 9 months, and it was just this whirlwind love romance thing and everything. And he was like, "Oh man, I found her, everything that I ever wanted." But what he came back to realize was that she was everything that he wanted. He wasn't. He had trauma and things that he had not dealt with. And one of the things too is that if you don't know who you are, then when you get into a relationship with somebody and they trigger you, or they touch one of those sore spots, like he didn't realize that he needed constant affirmation, constant affirmation. And she was busy doing the things that she was doing before they got married. And though she gave him affirmation, he still wasn't enough for him. So what happens when somebody feels unfulfilled? If they don't really know themselves and you don't know them, they start seeking that affirmation somewhere else. And so before you
Okay.
know it, you got issues. So again, just knowing when we talk about the role of a man, or knowing, in your relationship, I think just getting to know one another. And 'cause sometimes that person, you bring out some stuff in that person, and this is something that he talked about too. She brought out some things in him that made him better. But oftentimes iron sharpening iron. And if you don't
Yes.
really know that person, that iron hurt, and that person is they going somewhere else. So
Okay. Well, we're about 15 minutes in, right, Dr. Liz? About 15 minutes, 20 minutes in the conversation. So
yep,
let's go ahead and start bringing the summary in so we can start reeling this in. And the reason why I
absolutely.
say that, because now let's take the boxing gloves off.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's get serious here. Let's talk about the
Okay.
elephant in the room. First thing you got to realize, that's why I got all that nice stuff out of the way first before we get to this part, because now we're going to tell the truth. The elephant in the room. You're black, I'm black. In our community, 78% of the households are woman headed. 78.
Wow.
So when we talk first learning, you're learning from your mom. Whether you're a girl or whether you're a boy, you're learning from your mother. That's who you're learning how to be a man if you're a man. And a woman, you learn to be a woman if you're a woman. 70%. In white households, only 8% are female led. In 1999, 50% of all black families were single families. Since then, it has risen to 78%. So when you talk about that, who's raising who? I mean, how can a woman teach me to be a man?
No, I
When
don't
you
think
think
that
about
woman
this,
can. Right.
think about it. In our conversation between me and you, just me and your dynamics in this container you called that we call the podcast. My title is Rufus Carpenter, Mr. Carpenter. What's your title?
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Liz.
Mm-hmm.
Even in this dynamics, your credit score may be better than mine. So when it comes to buy a house, I might need a co-signer. You might not.
Okay. I'm listening. I'm listening. Help me understand.
So think about it. When it comes, and you said in the podcast, you said several times in the podcast, Dr. Liz, that men compete with you. Men, they got to compete with you. They feel like, how do you say that? They feel inferior, or they feel
Some men have
intimidated by you. Feel
yeah.
intimidated
Yeah.
by you.
I've run into that before. Absolutely.
Why? Why do you think that's so?
I think it's insecurities.
Okay, correct. Now, if I'm a male, I'm supposed to be the head, I'm supposed to be the priest, I'm supposed to be the protector, I'm supposed to be the provider. Why do I feel insecure? Why would that happen?
Honestly, I think that it happens because there's unresolved issues. Because I do have some men in my circle that have women that are, that have accomplished great things in their life, and they're able to support them without feeling inferior. So I think it all goes back down to handling and taking care of the issues that cause you to be in that situation, cause you to feel insecure. So if you already know that you have those type of issues or challenges going on, then that's what I talk about when I say go back and do your work on yourself first. Because then when you get into a relationship with a woman that has accomplished some things in her life, then you won't try to pull her down, or you won't feel insecure. You will be able to stand side by side with her. There is a judge, Judge Lynn Toller, who I absolutely just admire, right? With her, when she talks about the story of, when she and her husband came together, by today's standards or what have you, she was accomplished, and he was going through divorce and 4 children, and or had been divorced for 4 children, and wasn't as, didn't have, what she had going on basically. But they came together in support of one another, decided to put his career on the back burner. He supported her. They blew up together. But then it took her being healthy, him being healthy, to be able to pull that off. So that's what happens oftentimes when somebody is feeling insecure. That's not that woman's I want to say problem, really. Actually, he that needs to go and handle and take care of it, but also her attitude towards him also contributes to the success of that relationship. So let's go back just a little bit. When you talked about the young men being raised by women, I think the thing of it is that yes, we need strong men role models in our community that will step up and stand up and be a role model to our young men that may be raised by a single parent, by a single mom. But I think again, it all goes back to, and you talked about our community. In our community, we really need to get more awareness on our mental health, more awareness on taking care of ourselves, more awareness that it's okay to go and get help if you have some type of a mental challenge, or if you've had trauma in your childhood or any of those things. It's okay to go and get assistance and help to guide you through that so that you are presenting yourself as a healthy male, no matter what you have accomplished or have not. You get with the right woman and you give her those things that we talk about: protect, provide, and love her, and she gives you that respect. Man, there's nothing that you can't accomplish together, right?
Correct. 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 And that's why I wanted to let Elizabeth know that, hey, a lot of our problems stem from the fact that 78% of the Black families are households are female led. A lot of, when you talk about, when I came up in my household, my dad used to fight my mom every weekend. And he fought my mom every weekend because he would squander the money. He would come home drunk, squander the money. So my mom would say, hey, where's the money? I gotta pay food. I gotta do this. And my dad would fight. And my dad only had a third grade education. So I understand some of that. But when if I saw that all my life, all my youth, then that's my first learning. So if I take that learning into my relationship, into my wife's or my relationship, that's what role or what traits or what attributes do I bring? A lot of time you look at a man's role, attributes or traits, you're seeing what he has learned, whether he learned it from his mom, whether he learned it from the situation. And now reality TV,
But
Jesus.
right, but then you have to go back to think about it. This, I think it was. I'm not sure. I'm not going to quote who said this story, who gave this story. But you have a child brought up in the same household. Just say twin boys brought up at the same household. One twin boy, maybe dad was an alcoholic or something. One twin boy says, "Okay, this is what I've learned, and this is how I handle my situations is by drinking." Then you have the other twin boy that says, "Well, no, I'm going to do the opposite of that. I'm going to." So at some point, we do have a will that says, okay, these are my two options, but I'm going to choose this option because this is the outcome that I want from this option. This is the outcome that I want from this is the outcome that I'm going to get from this option. If I go down that road of drinking, 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 this is what my outcome is going to be. So we still have a choice, right? We still have a choice, and we also have a choice to say, wait, something is broken, so I need to go and fix it. Something is happening to me. I may not have the tools to repair it myself. So let me go seek some help. Let me go. I didn't learn entrepreneurship from coming from my family. I didn't learn it from my immediate household, but I know I have some entrepreneurs in my history, in my family heritage. I have some entrepreneurs, but I didn't learn that. But when I was exposed to it, or when I saw entrepreneurship, then that drew something inside of me. So I just can't I guess, sign off on the fact that just because you see, somebody being beaten, you're going to go and pick that up. I understand that that's sometimes what happens, but you can also know this doesn't feel right. Let me find another solution. Let me find another answer. Or and you choose to pull your mate down. If you choose to continue to pull your mate down, or you have men that choose to say, I'm going to stand by my mate. I'm going to help her. I'm going to help her to achieve what it is that she wants to achieve, and together we're better. That's why that again, flip back to the courtship. That's why it's important to do that courtship, because you know at the bottom line of it all is that we still have a choice, and our lives are developed by the choices that we make.
Dr. Liz, you told my story. I am a twin. And when I saw my father beat my mom like that, I made a decision I will never hit a woman. I made decisions I wouldn't drink, that I would take a different life. I'm known as the black sheep in my family. I'm a little different than most of my brothers and sisters because I made that decision as a child. Because I loved my mom so much and it hurt me to see what was going on. So I made a commitment to myself that I was going to do different. And that's what I did. So thanks for pointing that out for me. You made me realize that hey, I'm not the only one in that situation. So what you said is very true about my life. But right now in today, we're gonna sum this up. Like Dr. David Bradley said, priest, provider, and protector. And a man needs respect from his wife, and his wife needs love from the man. A woman, yes, a woman can do anything, can do a majority of stuff that a man can do. A lot of women today go out and hold jobs. A lot of women make a lot more than men make on the job right now, because they have to, because their household, they're the breadwinner for their family, for their house, so they have to. A lot of women are very, very educated. A lot of women sometimes have to carry their man, and they have to carry their man. I was on another person's podcast about 6 months ago, and they told a story about how I want to get it right. When Moses was introduced to his wife's family, and he met the lady at the well, and the lady had to take him because the lady's father wanted to meet Moses, so the lady had to take Moses to her father, but the men back then led, and Moses didn't know where to go. So the lady used rocks. The lady used rocks and threw rocks in front of Moses, so Moses could go to where the rock was. And that's how she led from behind. She led from behind to get Moses to go to where her dad was, so Moses could be shown as a man, because he led the woman, but the woman led from behind by throwing rocks, go right, rocks go left, and got there. So, and that shares, there's something called that when women work from a masculine energy and a female energy. We're not getting into that today, but that's a different time and a different subject. But when you respect your man, you know how to lead from behind.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I love that story. So I'll wrap up with protect, provide, and love, which is important. And when you know the rules of the game, that's how you win. It's like having the rule, the game book. What is it? The game book, the playbook. It's like having a playbook, right? And it's not always about, it's not about like, I want to be right. I want to be right. That's what I think a lot of the downfall is. I want to be right. And it's all of this ego tripping and all that other stuff. But just remembering that, men are built that way. They're made up that way. Now, we can change it however we want to, but they're built up that they have a certain type. And I can talk to a lot of men and, and everything. Have quite a few men in my, that I, reference to and talk to. But protect, that's just something that's already in men, to protect, to provide, and to love. And what they ask in return is respect. And I don't think that's a lot to ask for in return. So that's just our thoughts for today. I know we're going to get a lot of comments on this one. This has been a hot topic. Again, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for asking the question. And viewers, please feel free to put your comments in the comment section and get some things stirred up. We'll go do some research, talk to some folk, and we'll get a good topic going on for you. So until next time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'm not just saying like, share, and subscribe as a song. Please hit that subscribe button and share this information. And we'll see you next time. Y'all stay fearless. Bye for now.